So we will be going to discuss about ellipse. So what is an ellipse? An ellipse is the locus of all points in a plane, the sum of whose two distances from two fixed points called foci is a constant. When we say locus, it is a set of all points in a plane. And foci, in other books, this can be read as foci, foci, or foci. And we have a two fixed points. Remember, in our parabola, we have a fixed point, but isa lang. But in our ellipse, we have a foci. We have a two fixed points, by which the sum of these two fixed points, or the sum of the sum of whose distances of these two fixed points is a constant. Okay. So what are the parts of an ellipse? We have the center. It is the midpoint of the line joining the two foci is called the center of the ellipse. So here is our center. We have the focus, like what I said, in parabola, we have a focus in ellipse. Since focus, or we have foci, focus is for singular, foci is two or more than. Ibig sabihin, focus singular, foci is plural. The ellipse has two foci, and their coordinates are f, that is in C0, and f prime, that is in negative C0. Okay, so this is our foci. It is in the violet point, and the coordinates is C0 and negative C0. Later on, titignan natin kung dito lang ba siya nakafocus or dito lang ba ang coordinates ng ating focus. And always remember that the distance from our center going to one focus or one foci, that is denoted as C. And our center going to another foci, that is C. So the distance from this between these two foci, it will now to C. Since C plus C, that is 2C. That is for our focus. In our vertices, it is intersects the ellipse at the 2 points. Here is our vertex. Dalawa. In parabola, we have one vertex. In ellipse, we have vertices. So the center going to another vertex, that is denoted as E, as A. And the center going to another vertex, that is A. Okay? So the distance from the two vertices, that will now equal to 2A. This is the distance between two vertices, that is now equal to 2A. And always remember that our vertex, it is the major axis of our ellipse. Kung asaan ang ating vertex na axis, yun ang ating major. Okay? Since our vertex is a major axis, therefore the half, the half of this will now semi-major axis. Kasi when we say semi, it is half. And the half of our major axis, which is vertex, it is now semi-major axis. Okay? And it is denoted as A. Ito yan. Siyempre, kapag may vertices, meron din tayong co-vertices. So, andito siya sa may point na dito. It is now in the y-axis. Later on, malalaman natin kung bakit dito or kung bakit andito ang ating co-vertices at andito ang ating vertex. So, the distance from center going to vertices, that is B. Denote as B. This is also center going to another vertex, denoted as B. So, the length of these two co-vertex, or the length of the co-vertices, that is now equal to 2B, since B plus B is 2B. And since in our major axis, sinabi natin siya na it is in our vertex, sinabi natin na major axis, in the co-vertex, it is now the minor axis. Major axis, minor axis. And what is the half of our minor axis? It is in B. Therefore, our semi-minor axis is denoted as B. And this half of the co-vertices, that is now our semi-minor axis. So we have the principal axis. This is aligned through the foci. Dito yan. That is our principal axis. So we have the major axis. Nasabi ko na, our vertex is our major axis. Since the distance from the center going to one vertex is a, therefore the coordinates it is in a0 and negative a0. And malalaman natin kanina kung ano pa yung other coordinates ng ating vertex, ng ating co-vertices, and our foci. We have also the minor axis, nasabi ko niya. And we have an ellipse is the locus of all points. So this is the definition of our ellipse. So bakit ko ito in-include? Because it says here that the sum of whose distances from two fixed points called foci is a constant. So this is our foci. So this from that going to that is a constant. From there going to there, going to that is a constant. From that going to that is a constant. From that going to that is a constant, and from that going to that is a constant. So what is the best example, or what is the real life application of our ellipse? It is the orbit of our planets in our solar system, because the orbit of our planet in our solar system is elliptical in shape. Correct? Elliptical in shape. So let's go. We have the types of ellipse. So ito yung types of ellipse. Nakikita nyo, ito pahiga, iyon patayo. Meaning to say, this will now our major horizontal axis. Okay? So bakit siya tinawag na major horizontal axis? Sinabi natin kanina na ang ating vertex, it is the major axis. Okay? Since ang placement ng vertex natin dito is in the x-axis, and we already know that in our Cartesian plane, our x-axis is horizontal. Kaya naging major horizontal axis. Okay? So, if this is a major horizontal axis, the coordinates will now be having positive, negative, a 0. Since ang mag-iiba dito is the x values, since it is horizontal. Kapag naman y ang values ang mag-iiba, it is dito sa vertical. Pero dito muna tayo sa major horizontal. So the foci, what is the coordinates of foci? That is positive and negative c 0. For our co-vertex, andito siya sa may y-axis. Or always remember ha, si foci si vertex tsaka si foci ay laging magkasama. Kung si vertex is horizontal, the foci is horizontal. Itong dalawa kabaliktaran ni co-vertex. Kapag si vertex at foci ay horizontal, ang ating co-vertex is what? Vertical. So, we have the affected value of our co-vertex, ang lalaki sa kanya, it is the y values. So, that is positive, negative. So, this will now our major horizontal axis. We have also the major vertical axis. The major vertical axis, si vertex natin is andito siya sa may y-axis. And our y-axis, it is vertical. Kaya tinawag siya na major vertical axis. It should be B. B dapat to. Sorry. B dapat yan. B, major vertical axis, and A, major horizontal axis. So, the same pa rin ang explanation ng ating vertex. Ang pinagkaiba lang dito, si vertex natin ay nandito kay x-axis. So, dito, ang ating vertex ay nandito kay y-axis, kaya tinawag siya na vertical since our y-axis is vertical. So, what are the coordinates? We have ang mag-iiba na dito, or sinabi natin dito na si vertex at si foci ay laging magkasama. So, ang ating x is 0, positive, negative, A. Sa foci, we have pos 0, positive, and negative, what? C. Sa ating co-vertex, sinabi natin dito na hindi kapareha ni co-vertex si vertex at si foci. Kung si vertex at si foci ay horizontal, ang ating co-vertex is vertical. Dito, ang ating vertex at foci, it is vertical. Therefore, ang ating co-vertex is horizontal. So, ang mag-iibang value sa kanya, it is the x value. So, meron siyang positive and negative B. 0. So that is the two types of our ellipse. We have also the triangle inequality, that is c squared, that is equal to a squared minus b squared, and we let a greater than 0, which is greater than, or we let a as greater than c, that is greater than 0. So yeah. Now we have the formulas for ellipse. So here is the formula of our ellipse. For our major horizontal axis and major vertical axis. Kapag sinabi nating major horizontal, it is in the y-axis. Our vertex, it is in the x-axis. And dito, ang unang titignan ninyo is the denominator. Okay? So we have here a squared. And ang denominator ng x squared is a squared. Always remember that a squared is siya ang pinakamalaki. A squared is greater than b squared. Correct? So our x squared, that is over a x squared. Since major horizontal axis, ang ating a squared ay nandun kay x squared. Dito sa major vertical axis, ang ating a squared ay andun kay y axis. So it is major vertical axis since ang our a squared is andun siya sa ating y squared. So for the center, we have HK, that is the center of our two types of ellipse. For the foci, since it is horizontal, ang mag-iiba sa kanya, it is the x value. Kaya andito si positive and negative c. And kapag vertical, si y value, kaya andito si positive, negative c. And also with vertices, sinabi natin na kapag sinabi natin na si vertices, is kapag nasa same sila ng axis ni foci, so the same true with this. Ang mag-iiba sa kanila is the x-axis. Ang hindi lang mag-iiba or mag-iiba lang ng values of changing, it is in the co-vertices. It is the minor axis. Because since our ellipse is major horizontal axis, ang ating co-vertices, ang mag-iiba sa kanya, it is the y values. Kaya andito si positive and negative v. For our major vertical axis, it is in the x-axis ang mag-iiba. Kaya we have the h, positive and negative v. And for the length of the major axis, we can use this formula 2a. For the length of our minor axis, andito ang formula na 2b. And for the length of foci, andito ang formula na 2c. So that's it. Formula of 4 ellipse. So we will have this theorem. Ito, parehas din yan. For theorem 1, it is the standard equation of an ellipse with the center at the origin. Pag sinabi natin at the center at the origin, our center is at 0, 0. Okay? So kapag si x squared, ang denominator niya ay si a squared, that is x-axis. Pag dito naman, si y squared is denominator niya si a squared, that is y-axis. And our theorem 2, there is standard equation of an ellipse with the center at the HK. So may value ang ating h and k. Unlike in our theorem 1, walang value ang ating origin. It is in 0, 0. So the same pa rin sila. Our h minus x squared is a squared. Therefore, that is yk in center HSK. It is in the x-axis. The same true with this. Yun lang. So, to be continued for we will continue for the solving. So, for my next video, we will solve this example 1.